Hey there, Trailblazers, I hope you guys are all doing well. So, I'm assuming you clicked on this video because you're very curious about all of the future upcoming rerun banners coming to Honkai Star Rail and want to start planning out your Stellar Jades accordingly in order to pull for your favorite character, right? Well, you actually clicked on the perfect video to get this info. Because today in this video, we're going to be talking about the upcoming rerun banners coming to the game from version 4.3 and all the way up until version 4.6. To give context, we'll first briefly talk about the new banner characters before segueing into the rerun banners. But first, let me ask you something. So, do you want to pull for the newly released Evanesha, but you find in-game prices way too expensive? Well, have no fear, because today's sponsor Buff is the solution to all of your top-up needs. On Buff, you can buy in-game currency for all of your favorite gacha games at the cheapest available price with safe and near-instant delivery along with a 5% discount for new users. Just enter your server and UID and your purchase will be delivered instantly to your in-game account. On top of this, you can also use my exclusive Buff coupon code displayed on screen to get an additional 10% off on top of all of the other discounts. Putting the sponsor aside, let me just give the usual disclaimer that everything discussed here is based on unofficial sources as well as my own personal speculation. So please make sure to take everything mentioned with a huge grain of salt. Okay, starting with version 4.3. So according to the current information, the major new character releasing in version 4.3 is going to be Mortonak's Blade in Phase 1 of the patch. And honestly, this is easily one of the most anticipated characters we've had in a very long time. Mortonak's Blade is going to be a fire element character that follows the path of nihility, and plays the role of hybrid between support and a sub-DPS. Unlike the original Blade, who is almost entirely focused on self-damage and raw offensive pressure, Mortonak's Blade functions more like a hybrid support and damage dealer. As not only does he deal a decent chunk of damage himself, but also provides massive buffs to other characters in the party, such as decreasing the defense of all enemies by 30% when the field deployed by his ultimate is active, and also a 75% ultimate damage boost when other Nihility characters are present on the team, which is honestly huge for Acheron teams. Now moving on to the reruns for version 4.3. According to new leaks, the first rerun expected alongside Mortonak's Blade in Phase 1 is Yao Guang. And honestly, this rerun makes a ton of sense, because Yao Guang is still considered one of the strongest utility-focused characters in the game right now. Her overall flexibility and consistency have honestly allowed her to age extremely well in the meta. So if you skipped her previously, this rerun could honestly be one of the better opportunities to finally pick her up. Then moving into Phase 2, we will have both Cyrene and Phanon rerunning together. And honestly, this phase sounds absolutely insane. Starting with Cyrene, she's still one of the most unique support characters in the game thanks to her very specialized buffs for a lot of version 3 units, especially for Casterus teams. So for those such as me who have all of the other Casterus supports but are lacking Cyrene to complete her best in slot team, will have a golden opportunity to pick her up with this rerun. Then alongside her, we also have Phanon rerunning. And Phanon is still an incredibly powerful DPS character even now. His damage output remains extremely competitive, especially with vertical investment, and he's still one of the most popular offensive units in modern HSR. So having Cyrene and Phanon rerunning together in the same phase could honestly destroy a lot of players' savings immediately after Mortonak's Blade. Now moving on to version 4.4. The major new character here is expected to be Himiko SP. And honestly, this is another character that players are extremely excited for right now, especially because the early leaks surrounding her kit sound genuinely insane. According to the information currently floating around, Himiko SP follows the path of erudition and reportedly has an enhanced basic attack system alongside 3 different levels of enhanced skills. which already sounds way more mechanically complex than most characters we currently have in the game. On top of that, her ultimate is rumored to not deal direct damage at all, which likely means that it instead activates some sort of support mechanic, buff state, or transformation effect. And honestly, that kind of design would fit perfectly with the direction Hoyoverse seems to be taking newer characters lately, where instead of simple, straightforward kits, they're becoming increasingly unique and mechanically layered. Additionally, she is also said to have synergy with other characters from the Astral Express crew, which could point to characters like Welt, for example, who just recently got buffed, having some kind of synergy with her kit. Now, as for the reruns in version 4.4, I think Acheron has a pretty high chance to receive a rerun in this patch. Mostly because in the previous patch we will get Mortnak's Blade, who is a direct Acheron support, and also because she has been recently leaked to receive a skin during this patch as well, both of which increases the chances for her to rerun. Then alongside Acheron, I think Sparksy will rerun in this patch as well, as we already have her Elation team partner Yao Guang rerunning in the first phase of the previous patch. So it would make sense to rerun Sparksy in the very next patch to pressure players to spend for her rerun. So overall, version 4.4 could easily end up being one of the most dangerous patches for anyone trying to save Stellar Jades. Now moving on to version 4.5. And honestly, this is probably one of the most stacked updates in the entire roadmap, because according to current leaks, this patch is expected to introduce both Aventurin SP and Robin SP. Starting with Aventurin SP. Now, unlike his original version, which focused more heavily on sustain and defensive utility, Aventurin SP is rumored to be a much more aggressive Elation-focused DPS character. His kit is said to revolve around follow-up attacks, action manipulation, and scaling damage mechanics tied to Elation-based gameplay. And honestly, considering how heavily Hoyoverse has been pushing follow-up attack archetypes recently, there's a very good chance Aventurin SP ends up becoming one of the strongest Elation carries in the game. On top of that, leaks suggest that Mortnak's Blade may actually function as one of his premium support teammates, which honestly makes a lot of sense considering Blade's rumored universal support mechanics and buff-oriented form. So there's a pretty high chance these two characters are intentionally designed to work extremely well together. Then for Phase 2, we will have Robin SP. And honestly, Robin SP sounds incredibly unique so far. Based on current information, she reportedly has a very unusual basic attack mechanic that functions differently from normal attacks. And interestingly enough, many of her abilities may not even deal direct damage at all, which could mean her entire role revolves around enabling teammates, buffing rotations, or enhancing overall team performance in some unique way. And considering how popular Robin already is as a character, I already know a massive amount of players are probably preparing to summon for her immediately. Now, as for the reruns in version 4.5, I think we will potentially get both Ash Vale and Mighty Eye returning. Starting with Ash Vale, who is still considered one of the strongest defensive characters in the game by a lot of players, especially because his overall scaling and damage ceiling remain incredibly high. And depending on how future teams develop, there's also a good chance Ash Vale continues benefiting from newer team options releasing later on. As for Mighty Eye, he is another character whose kit has aged surprisingly well over time. Even with constant power creep discussions in the community, he still remains very strong in a lot of endgame content. And considering it's been quite a while since his last rerun, I think him getting one in this patch is a very likely possibility. And finally, moving into version 4.6. The major new character expected here is Nihilix. Now, based on the current information we have, Nihilix is said to have mechanics somewhat similar to Cyrene, including a transformation-style gameplay system. On top of that, she's also rumored to support Elation-based abilities and synergize heavily with other Elation characters. So there's a very good chance she ends up becoming an extremely important piece for future Elation teams. Especially with how much Hoyoverse seems to be pushing follow-up attacks and Elation synergy lately. And honestly, if all of this information ends up being accurate, Nihilix could easily become one of the most important support-style characters for that archetype moving forward. Now, as for the reruns in version 4.6, I think both Silver Wolf level 999 and Evanescia rerunning is very likely, as by that point it would be about 4 patches since their initial release, which is usually enough of a time gap for both characters to get their first reruns. But now I want to hear from you guys. Which upcoming banner or rerun are you personally the most excited for right now? But anyways, that's basically my entire roadmap for upcoming reruns coming between version 4.3 to 4.6. If you found this video helpful, feel free to give it a like. And also don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest Honkai Star Rail news and information. That's it for now, so I'll see you guys in the next video.